Did you know that the National Institute of Mental Health reports that at least 73% of the population experiences public speaking anxiety or glossophobia? That means that a large portion of our population, likely 3 out of 4 people, experience some form of public speaking anxiety or nervousness. So if you've ever said, I cannot speak in public because I have a fear of public speaking, you are not alone. And today I'm going to help you really start to face those public speaking fears so you can show up as the face of your company and serve your audience where they need it the most. Hi, I'm Jessica Rasdall, and after spending 16 years traveling the country and speaking and sharing my story on stages, podcasts, webinars, and more, today I help small business owners and CEO leaders do the same so that they can grow and scale that message, that business, that movement they've worked so hard to build. After working with hundreds of small business owners to help them really start to own their message and share it in a bigger way, I've definitely experienced my fair share of clients who have a fear and sometimes an intense fear of public speaking. Now, I should probably let you in on a little secret here. I myself am quite the introvert, and public speaking was never something that I thought I would be doing, that I was ever excited to do. It was just that public speaking was a way for me to have a second chance at life, to share a message that I thought was so needed with the world, and to truly make a difference for others. So over the last 16 years, I've really had to come toe to toe with my own public speaking fears in order to keep making that impact. And today, I kind of want to let you in behind the scenes on what's working best for both myself and my clients to not necessarily eliminate our public speaking fears, but be able to face them in a way that we feel better stepping onto the stage and sharing that message we've been called to serve. First and foremost, let's talk about one of the root causes of our public speaking fears. So let's be real. What I'm not talking about here is anxiety disorders. I'm not here to give you a mental health diagnosis, although I might have dealt with that as well. But what I do want to talk about is how we can get in our own way and make that anxiety even worse as we're preparing to step on a stage. So for the most part, when I'm meeting with a client who is nervous or anxious or second guessing saying yes to a speaking opportunity, the root cause of that anxiety is truly simply and almost always lack of preparation. And so much of our anxiety can be reduced when it comes to public speaking by putting in work behind the scenes. I mean, think about anything you do in your life. I want to know the things before I have to know the things. Like if I'm going to go to a restaurant, this probably sounds so ridiculous, but I'm going to tell you anyways because we're friends now. If I'm going to go to a restaurant this weekend, I'm 100% going to look up that restaurant ahead of time and review the menu. That way I don't feel pressured or on the spot when I'm at the restaurant. It reduces a lot of anxiety for me. If I'm going somewhere new, if I'm going to a conference, if I'm going to be speaking at a conference in particular, I will 100% research that location and figure out like where are the hotel rooms in proximity to the conference room, to the bathrooms, to like I want a lay of the land. At the end of the day, I don't like walking into scenarios and it being like the first time I'm experiencing it. So I've taken my weird menu research strategy and I use that when it comes to speaking to reduce my onstage anxiety. So what this looks like for myself and my clients is taking a lot of time to prepare for the event. And I'm sure you're like, Jess, I know I have to practice my speech. I'm talking about so much more than just practicing your speech because yes, the more you can spend time developing your presentation, knowing what you're going to say, that is going to help you feel more confident on the stage. The more you practice it, that's going to help you. But also asking all of the questions that you can ahead of time of what this experience is going to be like is going to reduce anxiety. So you want to know, how is the room going to be set up? Is your stage going to have a podium or not? Are you using a wireless microphone or not? Do you have a remote clicker? Are you using slides? Do you have to advance your slides? Is someone else advancing your slides? The more you can do to practice and prepare the exact same way you will on that stage, when you step onto the stage, it's not going to feel like the first time you've stepped up there, and it reduces so much anxiety. So for every single speaking opportunity I have, whether it's a podcast or a live stream or a massive conference, I'm going to ask that host so many questions ahead of time to make sure that I'm prepared and that I'm comfortable and in turn can show up and do my best work so that host is proud and happy and going to invite me back. I would challenge you to make sure that whenever you have a speaking opportunity, whether it's in person or virtual, that you are one, taking the time to develop your presentation presentation and practice it. But you're two, going the extra mile and finding out as much information as you can about what the delivery of that presentation is actually going to be like, as far as stage setup, audiovisual equipment, everything like that. Bonus tip here. And if you're one of my clients, you already know that this is why it's so important to make space to do a sound check when you actually arrive at the event. That way you can get up on the stage, move around, test out your microphone, advance your slides. You can do all of that in an empty room. That way the first time you step on the stage with the audience there, it's not the first time you're figuring out the clicker or figuring out how to turn on your microphone or looking out into this room. Sound checks reduce anxiety so much. While you're doing your sound check, make sure you're testing your slides, because this is always where the hiccups happen. And if the thought of even trying to design or develop or navigate or present with a slide deck is already making your hands sweat, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because I have an entire playlist coming your way soon of all things slide decks, from what should go in it, what should not go in it, and how to use them to help you prepare for your next event. So hit that little button. Now let's just say that you've done all the preparation. You're like, Jess, you've got your presentation ready, you've been practicing, you've asked all these questions, you feel like you've done the prep, but still you show up at the event, it's the night before, you're in your hotel room, and all you can think about is, what are these people going to think of me? What if they judge me? What if they don't like me? What if I mess up? What if I make a fool of myself? And if those thoughts have ever gone through your mind, you are not alone. That typically is the voice we hear as we're preparing to get on stage. It's easy to let that anxiety get to us, and it will show up in thoughts like, what am I going to look like? How am I mess up? Like putting all of this pressure onto ourselves. If you've had those thoughts, if you're having them right now, you're not alone. We all do. But I have developed a way that when I recognize those thoughts, I can flip them around really quick. And I want to share that with you. See, when we start hearing those thoughts come up of like, what are they going to think about me? What if I mess up? What if I trip and fall? That's usually the one that I'm thinking about. Like, what if I trip while I'm walking onto the stage? That is a real fear. Like, I've had lots of nightmares about this. When those thoughts start coming up, they can spiral really fast. And we get into this cycle of like, maybe I shouldn't go up there, right? Like, maybe I just shouldn't do this presentation. And we're so centered around this fear of possible failure. We've got to shift our mindset, because if you're worried about possibly messing up or one person in that room not liking you, that is not enough to withhold all of the inspiration and knowledge and just value you're going to deliver on that stage, because there is someone, if not hundreds of people in that audience, who are waiting for you to share your message. So whenever you're starting to hear those thoughts, you're feeling those feelings of, what if I mess up? What will they think of me? We want to quickly shift that to, what does my audience need from me? You're instantly going to switch from like, what if they don't like me, to, I came here to help them. And that helper mindset helps reduce so much anxiety. A little bonus tip for you here. I think sometimes it's easy to be like, okay, focus, Jessica. You are here. You're going to help people scale their business with speaking, and like, just stop there. It doesn't always work. It's not always enough. So sometimes I like to take that one step further and think about the ripple effect of that impact, right? So if I say, I'm going to help my audience scale with their business with speaking, what does that mean? Really think about not just that first level of impact that you're going to make, but the big ripple that's going to come from that transformation. That for me now makes speaking on this stage not something about me being accepted by the audience or not, but almost a moral obligation of, this is the work that I've been called to do. I need to get up there and do this, because this whole room's life is about to be transformed if I can just get out of my own way and get up there. So we've prepped for the event, we've switched our mindset, we're focused on the right things, and now we gotta practice. And I know that's so unsexy and you did not want me to say that, but truly nothing is going to ease your anxiety like practice. Muscle memory is a magical thing. And as somebody who delivered almost the same presentation for about a decade, I can tell you, when I first delivered my presentation for the very first time, this was just a very short amount of time after a life-changing accident that I had caused and that I was in. And everything was so fresh and so new and so raw. And I would not advise anybody speaking like I did. So I started reading the words off of a piece of paper, and I tried so hard to be like, they're just words on paper, just focus on the words. And as I practiced, as I delivered more and more presentations, I was able to move to note cards, and then I was able to just speak. That is not how I teach my students to speak, so like, please do not take that as like, that's what Jessica said to go do. That's not how we do that. But what I can say about that is the more times I shared my story, the more times I delivered my presentation, it was like the words just started rolling off of my tongue. So there's lots of ways that you can help reduce your anxiety by practicing. Just getting more opportunities under your belt is great. Setting up your camera and filming yourself, I know it's really uncomfortable, but it's going to help you watch yourself, play things back, make adjustments as you can. But probably my favorite way to just get more comfortable with speaking in front of groups of people is using Instagram stories. If you don't like it, it's gone tomorrow. If you love it, you can save it. So I don't really care how you practice, but the more you can practice, the more reps you can get in, the easier it's going to be when you actually step onto that stage, and the anxiety is going to feel a lot less burdensome. If you're at a place right now where you are currently practicing, maybe you're showing up on stories, you're doing some podcast interviews, you're filming videos to try to work your way up to an in-person stage, let me know in the comments. I'm practicing so that I can cheer you on and maybe go find some of those stories and videos. So if you have an upcoming presentation, I would encourage you to get your talk done as early as you can so that you can make space on your calendar to practice delivering it, to set up your camera, to maybe practice in front of your family or your pets and get the reps in. That way, when you get on the stage for the first time, you'll have the muscle memory. You can just let the thing flow and you're not going to be worried about what comes next. Fear of public speaking doesn't have to be the thing that holds you back from sharing your message with the world. I know that you have great value to share with your audience, and I hope that these tips and strategies help you kind of ease that anxiety a little bit so you can be more comfortable and confident on the stage. If you're saying yes to showing up more and using podcasts, webinars, live streams, and stages to help scale your business, then I'd love for you to watch this video where I can show you exactly how we use speaking to scale businesses without burning ourselves out or adding unnecessary anxiety.